Sweet. Dude, if I can hit him. Pfft, of course I can.
Did he just go inside? Yes, 4 was killed.
There we go. A little bit more. And there we go. 11 kills, 3 people left. Yes! 12 kills. We got it. We got the win.
Thank God I was using the right settings, man. Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's ExxotikGaming, and welcome back to, once again, another Rules of Survival video. Turns out the last tips and tricks video I did about 6 weeks ago now ended up being one of my most successful videos in a long time. So it seems like you guys would like to know some more tips on this game on how to improve your gameplay. I saw a lot of people asking me what are the best settings for Rules of Survival, so I thought I'd explain that to you all in this video. Real quick, if this video helps you out, I would really appreciate it if you left a like down below. It literally takes 1 second, and also share this video around. This way, more people can actually get help from this tutorial. I really appreciate it, you guys are awesome, and without further ado, let's jump into this video. Now, the most obvious first thing we need to discuss is the fact that not every person will have the exact same settings. Every person watching this video right now will have different types of devices, and whether you're playing on an iOS device, an Android device, or even your computer, everyone's device has different capabilities and different caps for performance. If you see a video of someone claiming that they know the best settings for every single player in this game, they're wrong, as someone who has a high-performance Razer phone will be able to run different settings than someone with an iPhone 5C from several years ago. So in this video, I'll attempt to explain how you can determine your optimal settings for your device, which will, in the end, result in you getting better gameplay, ranking up faster, and getting those wins that you so desperately want. I myself have a Razer phone, an iPhone X, and a Windows computer, so I can show you all what the best settings are for each operating system. So let's do this. If you're watching this on a mobile device that's relatively small, for example a mobile phone or something along those lines, you will ideally want to be only using your thumbs when you're playing this game. So, you will have different optimal sensitivity settings than someone with a tablet or a computer and a mouse. On my Razer phone, I have a pretty standard screen size, so for the most part, anyone who uses a phone to play this game can use similar sensitivity settings to what I have. You can see how I have each of mine listed here. As side notes, with the larger the scope, generally, you want to decrease sensitivity because you'll be engaging in fights farther away where you don't have to move your sight as much. Hence, this is why my sensitivity settings for my 8x scope are much lower than my red dot sights. Really, the most important thing is being able to do a complete 180-degree turn from the center of your screen to either edge. As you can see me doing right here, I touch the center of the screen and drag to the edge, and I am able to see a 180-degree field of view from my character's perspective. If you are able to do that, you have the right sensitivity settings. I highly recommend turning 3D touch off, regardless which device you have, and for the most part, everything else in the control settings can either be turned on or off. They don't affect how the game runs. Now, when jumping back to the basic settings, this is where things will change between players. Depending on your device's performance capability will determine what graphics will look like on your device. If you have anything from the iPhone 6s and up, you should be able to run the game on excellent or ultra settings just fine. And honestly, you don't even need to worry about turning on high FPS mode, as that doesn't really change much. If you're on Android and you have the higher end devices like the Razer phone, all forms of the Samsung Galaxy S6 and up, Google Pixel, OnePlus 5 and up, and other devices similar to those, you should be able to run on excellent or ultra settings just fine. Now, when we look at the older devices and cheaper devices with not as good performance capability, that is where things will change. For example, someone with an iPhone 5 or the Samsung Galaxy S5 may have to run on a lower setting, like balanced or even power saving for the least powerful of devices. But that doesn't mean you can't be good at the game. A good way of determining what the best settings are for your device is to go into the warm-up area where all 120 players are clustered together, take a powerful gun like the M249 or a shotgun, and start spamming that firing button, hitting enemy players to see what FPS you get. If you notice any drop in FPS or any sort of lag, That is where you know the settings are too high and you need to lower them. As you can see, this is what ultra settings look like: excellent settings, balanced settings, and power saving mode. Truth is, they're not that different. They don't change the close-up view as much and you can still see people, but do be warned, with the lower settings, you will not be able to see objects and people rendered in as well farther away. So this actually goes farther than just the settings. If you have a lesser powerful or older device, you will have to play more aggressively. If you see a person, you can't stay super far back, as the enemy will be able to see you farther away than you can see him or her. Minimize the graphical difference by getting up close and personal to the enemies that you come in contact with. Now, I would always recommend turning on auto power saving, as that will increase your battery life when you're playing this game, and only if you have a better device should you turn on damage display. If you have a bad device, turn off damage display, because that will cause some lag for you. Back on the operations screen, I would highly recommend turning off vibrate when hit button, regardless which device you have, as there really isn't a point to this setting. It'll just startle you, mess you up, and probably cause a bit of lag as well. If you're on Android or an iOS phone, I'd recommend using advanced mode and the other settings I have listed here. Now, onto tablets and iPads. If you're playing this game on a tablet or an iPad, chances are you're using multiple fingers to play the game. Now that's perfectly fine, but I never really was that great using the devices myself. So, if you are using them, you will definitely need to have higher sensitivity than a phone user would have. I don't have a tablet myself, so I can't show you what it exactly would look like, so enjoy some gameplay in the background. Just look at the sensitivity settings I have listed previously, and add about 25% more sensitivity to each thing listed. Everything else applies as the same, and depending on how old your tablet or iPad is, that'll determine graphical settings. If you have a really old tablet or iPad, you'll need to lower your settings down to whatever gives you consistent FPS. But if you have a new iPad Pro, for example, you should be able to run everything on max settings perfectly fine. As I said before, with mobile devices, with tablets, just jump into the warm-up area, take a weapon like the shotgun or the M249 and blast away, holding the firing button at hitting enemies, and if there is any bit of lag that shows, you will need to lower your graphical settings. Just like I said previously with mobile devices, if you have an old or not high performance tablet, you will need to play more aggressively, running at enemies more so you don't get caught in a situation where if someone sees you far away, but since you have bad settings on, you can't see them. Lastly, onto computers, your settings will also depend on your computer's capability. It seems Rules of Survival runs a lot better on computers than PUBG does, so if you have low settings on PUBG when you play it, chances are you can raise them up a bit when you're playing Rules of Survival. By the way, if you didn't know how to get Rules of Survival on PC, just go to their official website and simply download it from there. Or maybe I'll just make a new tutorial on how to do that. But anyways, these are some of the settings I have on my PC. Again, they may be very different for you, but actually you can use much more closely to the recommended settings when you first download the game when you're playing it on PC. When I first downloaded this onto my PC and I started using this, I didn't really need to change my sensitivity settings or anything along those lines because everything worked perfectly fine the way the game was downloaded. Most importantly, your sensitivity needs to be good on your computer. What you want to do is jump into the warm-up area and move your mouse left and right to see if you can comfortably do a 360-degree turn to either side without having to pick up your mouse to keep turning your character. If you can do that, your sensitivity is good. The same applies to the scopes as well. As a side note, the larger your scope, the less sensitivity it should have, as you will encounter people farther and farther away and they won't move from side to side as much. On a computer, every other setting will be determined based off of your computer's capability and how well it runs games as well as how old or new it is, so do the same as what I just said earlier in regards to settings such as damage display and lag in the warm-up area, and you should be good. And with that, you should be much better off at Rules of Survival on iOS, Android, and PC. And that's basically it. It's relatively simple, yet so many people wanted to know what the best settings were for this game. I don't blame you. good settings directly translate over to better gameplay. So, I hope this tutorial helped. Like I said at the beginning, I would really appreciate it a lot if you left a like down below and subscribe if you're new for some more Rules of Survival content. Share this video around to as many people as possible so they too can find out the best settings for this game. And other than that, that's it. Thank you all for watching. Comment down below what you want next, and I'll see you all in the next episode.